Damaged, a virtual love story written by author W.Griffin. Chapter 1, Karen McNeil. I cannot believe that after 12 years and 3 children, Mitchell would do what seems to be meaningless to him. I must admit that I can be a little passive at times, but I love this man with everything in me. The way that Mitchell carries himself and the father that he has blossomed into has me thinking as to why he will put his children and me through such heartache. I do not know if I can even bring myself to tell them what their father has done. My youngest Veronica would not understand right now because she's only 3, but Kevin and Mitchell Jr., on the other hand, love their daddy, and this man cannot do anything wrong in their eyes. Mitchell and I had difficulties trying to have Veronica, and now did not know what to do because breaking up with this man is out of the question. We both come from families where our parents were married for over 30 years, and let both men tell it, they have never been outside of the marriage, which is hard to believe. My mother adores my father to this day, and they are so cute together. Mitchell's parents, on the other hand, cannot stand the ground that each one of them walks on. I even think they sleep in different rooms at home, but every time we visit them in North Carolina, they set the place up to look like they are still that couple, as if we cannot figure it out. Mitchell and I conceived Kevin, who was 12 years old, before we decided to live together, and Mitchell Jr. followed right after. Jr. was lucky to get his father's name because we believe that he was conceived on our first day that we moved into our new apartment together, but who knows. Mitchell swears up and down that he is a math magician when it comes to dates that we created our children. Our dear Veronica is 3 years old, and we consider her a miracle. My pregnancy with her was hard, and we miscarried twice before I was able to carry a baby full term after the boys were born. I would have thought that when I had her, Mitchell would love me again, but I was mistaken because I just met his daughter, and it broke my heart into pieces. My name is Karen McNeil, and I'm a 3rd grade school teacher for the city of Virginia Beach, and I love what I do. To watch these children grow up over the years and come back to me and tell me that I was such an influence in their lives at an early age means everything to me. I teach the 3rd grade, so I always figured that because it was one of the early grades in their school career and wasn't a milestone, the children would move on and never remember their experience in my class, so I was determined to make a mark on their lives as much as I could. That is where my story takes a turn that changed my perfect relationship into a nightmare. I was starting a new school year, and with new students come new faces and unique experiences. But there's one face that stood out from the crowd because this child looked awfully familiar, and she was a spitting image of my daughter. I did not pay too much attention to it at first, but as the school year progressed and I got to know her, my suspicions grew, so I decided to do some investigating. This child was the perfect student, so it was hard for me to make an excuse to meet her parents until she started to slip in her grades, and that was my opportunity. Destiny. I called her name while she was walking out the door headed to her next class. Yes, ma'am. I need you to stay back for a second. Okay, why? I'm noticing that your grades are slipping quite a bit. I'm sorry, Miss McNeil. My mother and father have been fighting lately, and I don't know why. I'm sorry to hear that, Destiny. Is it something that you want to talk about? No, not really. Well, if you don't bring up your grades, sweetheart, I'm going to have to request a conference with your parents. No, Miss McNeil, please do not. I promise to do better. Are you sure, Destiny? I promise. Can I go now? Yes, you can go, but if you want to talk to me, I'm here to listen. Miss McNeil? Yes, Destiny. Does your husband live with you and your kids? I'm not married, sweetheart, but the father of my children does. Why? Nothing. I'll see you in the morning. I promise to bring my grades up. Okay, Destiny, you have a good rest of your day. Destiny walked out of the classroom, and I swear it was like talking to my daughter because she was a spitting image of my boyfriend. But how could this be? Because Destiny is 9 years old, and Mitchell and I have been in a perfect stable of a healthy relationship for the past 12 years. I was born to Ruth and Marvin McNeil in 1990, and I met my boyfriend 12 years ago, and this man swept me off my feet. He was such a gentleman. Mitchell was everything that I was looking for in a man, even at such a young age. My mother and father kept me isolated from the world because I was their only child, and I did not want for anything growing up. We lived in a modest house in Virginia Beach, Virginia. Although my dad was frugal, it seemed like he had all the money in the world when I was younger. This man would take my mother and me on trips around the globe every year, but he would penny pinch on each vacation, which drove my mother crazy. My dad was an engineer for the local railroad here in Virginia, and you guessed it, my mother was an elementary school teacher, but she taught the 5th grade instead of the 3rd. I knew from an early age that I wanted to teach children, and that is what I set out to do. My parents are the best, and they love each other unconditionally. Even though Mitchell have not gotten around to asking for my hand in marriage, I always thought that we had what my parents had until I met Destiny.